Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Abington School Building Committee meeting of Tuesday, March 10th, 2015. First order of business, prior to going into the approval of the minutes, I'd like to welcome Peter Walter, a member of the Finance Committee, who will be filling our seat as the representative from the Finance Committee, so welcome.
Thank you.
Next order of business is the approval of both the January 8th, 2015 and then the February 10th, 2015 School Building Committee meeting minutes. I'd like to take individual votes. Just to remind you, we are voting on the January 8th meeting minutes because we did not have a quorum at that meeting.
Make a motion to approve the January 8th meeting minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the minutes of January 8th, 2015 have been approved. I hear a motion to approve the February 10th, 2015.
Make a motion to approve the February 10th, 2015 meeting minutes.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the minutes of February 10th, 2015 have also been approved. Next order of business, we've been asked by, I believe it was by the selectmen, is that correct, Peter? By the school committee, excuse me. By the school committee to discuss a parcel of property that's presently known as 0 Brockton Ave, 0 Linwood Ave. It presently resides under the control of the school committee. There is some documents in here that lay out the actual parcel of land. There was a point in time prior to, obviously, the decision and the vote to proceed with the current high school site. There was a thought that this may have been a viable site for a potential school. I think at this point, it's the opinion of the school committee as well as the administration that that property could be declared surplus and turned back to the town. The only potential use, in my opinion, that I could see it being used for at some point would potentially be playing fields, and that would fall under the Park and Rec Department, which again wouldn't be a school, fall under the school's jurisdiction, even if that were to be considered as a potential opportunity in the future. So it was asked by the school committee that we discuss it here. We make a recommendation to the school committee, and if that recommendation is to declare it surplus because we see no need for it as the school building committee, then they would take action and ultimately turn it back to the town as surplus for the town to make an ultimate determination what they would do with it.
Okay. I did some research on this property when we did the middle school site selection committee 10+ years ago. Just to give you a little background, this is one of the pieces of property the town bought in the late 50s, early 60s. The town did some pretty good planning. They not only bought some land, including some of the land near the Abington High School, but they also built back then some municipal buildings like the Route 18 fire station, the former police station on Central Street, the Abington High School, all in the early 60s. And there were others too. So this was something that they had bought different areas across, different parcels across town. If you look at it, it's about 15+ acres, but really it's only about 350 feet wide, and it's very, very long. And there's wetlands in it. It's really not suitable for a school, and whether we needed it for a new school or not, it's really not a great shape for a school. So personally, and this is one of the reasons we eliminated off of the proposed middle school 10, 12 years ago, it just did not, it's not shaped well or situated well as a municipal property for a school building. So as a member of this committee, I would come to the same conclusion. I don't think that the town would have any future use of this for a new school building, because what we're building with this project, we hope is going to last us for another half generation, multiple generations. So
Was that a motion?
There'll be a motion to recommend that the school committee declare it surplus and turn it into the jurisdiction and control of the Board of Selectmen.
Do I hear a second? Okay. Any further discussion regarding the parcel of land? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Hearing none. We recommend to the school committee that we declare it surplus and turn it back to the town.
Could you tell me what the second was on that?
Second was wrong.
Thank you.
At this point, I'd like to call Troy up to provide a design update. As you can see, over the past month or so, the designs have progressed quite well, and we can really start to visualize the space with occupants in the space, how it will flow, and Troy will spend some time going through each of those in brevity so that we can get a better understanding of the flow. So, Troy? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, we're going to spend some time going through the interiors. It's a very exciting part of the design process because everybody gets to visualize the interior. We visualized or provided visualization of the exterior. Now with the interior, with the computer-generated images, it becomes a really nice tool to be able to see the spaces in greater detail. If you remember, probably 2 years ago, we started the process of the educational visioning, and it involved 30+ people through that process, several series of visioning sessions, workshops to identify what the interior, the feel of the interior, what the overall concept would be, beginning the process. And we've gone through the exterior, the organization of the floor plan, the volumes, the adjacencies, the wayfinding, and breaking down this sizable building into a really nice scale for the students and the individuals coming to see the building. If you recall, on the floor plans, we talked about this central core with the 2-story volumes being very transparent and open, with a library on the second floor, with this corridor connecting the gym lobby and the fitness center, the gymnasium. We're going to be talking about these spaces specifically with the cafeteria, the middle school cafeteria, the entry, the high school cafeteria, the library, the seminar room, the connecting corridor, the gymnasium, fitness center, and lobby space. And some of the things that were talked about during those visioning sessions, and also came up during the working group meetings, were to create an inspiring, inviting, a warm, friendly, nurturing environment to show the beauty and inspiration within the space, to showcase student work, to display art, both 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional work, both static and dynamic. And how is the education and the activity put on display, and really creating an environment where the students would take pride in their school and the spaces within the school. The value of connecting, like I said, connecting spaces vertically and visually so that the activity is seen at multiple levels. We've done that successfully in working with the working group, the building committee, the faculty, the staff, the administration, And what you see here is the culmination of those efforts. And we'll go through the initial, the entry, which is middle school, the primary entry here, the middle school, and then the high school entry with the cafeteria, the middle school cafeteria. And you recall coming across the cafeteria on the second level is the connecting corridor with the library behind it. And this is the primary image looking from the first floor in this proximate vicinity, looking across the space, looking at the entry coming in on the middle school side, the entry coming in on the high school side, the corridor connecting the two classroom wings, the library beyond, and then beyond this this visual screen and functional screen is the kitchen. And you can see the use of materials, the use of the textures, the volume to define the space with the wood panels here, with a visual display, a TV display here, wood panels on this side. And when I say wood panels, they are a particle board with a veneer on them, a very economical way to provide some warmth and some inviting textures in the space with the use of the panels here. The same with the panels at the ceiling, standard MDF panels that have acoustical value. So the within this space, the acoustics, given the fact that it's a two-story space, it's going to have a significant amount of students within the space. The acoustics needs to be defined. So these acoustical panels help mitigate the noise levels within the space. The flooring, the use of linoleum sheet flooring for a low maintenance material, as well as an opportunity to provide the space with some signature design for the town of Abington. The lighting, you can see here, a combination of strip lighting and pendant lighting, and it's those are acrylic lens, LED, long-lasting, high-efficiency lighting. And the one thing you'll see in these, in many of the renderings, is the use of similar fixture. And one thing we like about this fixture is the fact that it is LED, it is high efficient. It's also a module, meaning that you could have one particular tube, you could have 3, you could have 5 in a cluster format or a linear format, so it gives you a little bit of design flexibility while maintaining a standard within the overall design. You can see the walls using color to change, easy way to change the visual and the textural component of the space. Down low, we have porcelain wall panels or porcelain wall tile, a very hard, durable material, low maintenance material, down low at the floor level. The glass transparency between this space and the library you can see above. And these are different vantage points that we have. There are this particular image, the same space, but it's looking across from the entrance here across the space, and you can see defining that path of travel, the change in color and material, as well as the defining the panel system with the ceiling on the left. You can see let me just see here. This is the similar vantage point, but looking across the space from approximately here toward the seminar room in the middle school side of the corridors here. where you can see visual connection between the art classrooms for display of three-dimensional work and the activity beyond, as well as static display within a display case here that can be used to display student work. A display up at the second level that could be used for the history of Abington. One of the things including, in addition to trying to display the work of students within the space, both dynamic and static, with the LED or the TV screen and then the display cases, is displaying the history of Abington. And there are several locations within the building where we're earmarking zones to display some of the history and the highlights throughout the history of Abington. Let's see, so this particular board is showing from the second level, so from up here, looking back toward the entry, with the high school entry here, middle school entry here. You can see all the really nice natural daylight coming into the space, and that will also make its way as far as borrowed light into the library, in trying to maintain the views, both the natural lighting, but the views to the exterior. This image here is looking at the high school. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? Let's see this. So this, looking across what we're standing, the image there is standing right about here and looking across the connecting corridor above and into the high school cafeteria, and then out through the glass windows located here. So we're looking through stairs to go upstairs to the second level, through to the high school cafeteria. You can see a large mural here. We've identified the Abington logo, but it's really earmarked for student personalization, identifying a space so that the students can take ownership, whether it's banners, images, and graphics, that the students can personalize the graphics within that space. Then if we take a look at this image, this is looking from the stair on the second floor, right at the top of these stairs, looking across the space. So we're looking across the space and the bridge corridor that connects the auditorium. So we're looking from here across this space, and the bridge that connects to the upper level of the auditorium is what we see with the glass transparency into the library located here. The serving area on the first floor located here, with the materials within these two spaces, because they're contiguous, are very similar to keep the design aesthetic, with the lighting, the curved acoustic panels, and then the highlights of wood wainscoting and the porcelain pavers, or the porcelain wall tile at the base. And then looking at this space, which is the same same directional vantage point, but on the first floor. So you're looking across the space from the first floor with the serving line, the Green Wave Cafe located here, the connecting corridor leading to the upper level of the auditorium, with the library located here, and glazing to the courtyard, the high school courtyard, on the right-hand side. And you can see the materials we're using, very similar, low maintenance, economic materials, with the porcelain tile, the gypsum drywall with change in paint to accent some horizontal banding, and then the use of the the veneered wood panels located here to really create a nice warm environment. As we, so this I mentioned was the, or is the Green Wave Cafe, and working with the faculty and staff in administration, it was important to have that adjacent to the high school cafeteria. It was important to have some transparency, but also make sure that is not completely transparent, because what they're using it in the morning as a cafe, but also it's a teaching space during the day. And this image here, I'm just going to bring this across to the front so that everybody can see. This is an image of the interior of the Green Wave Cafe, and on the first floor this is the plan area of the Green Wave Cafe, and we're standing, here's the entrance, the high school cafeteria. Looking across is that image that we looked at here, and we're standing, this vantage point is right inside that the entry doors, and it works as a cafe. It works as a instructional space with standard 2x2 ceiling tiles, a soffit. It has 4 teaching stations, so there are 2 teaching stations here, and then to the left of the image there are 2 additional teaching stations. Porcelain tile floor. Then you can see the enlarged whiteboard area to the right with an interactive projector, transaction area with lighting, storage above with use of a display that can be changed, interchangeable, and changed when necessary. And use, just in that particular space, use of really economic and functional materials as well, with a tile backsplash for easy cleaning, easy cleanup and use. On the opposite side, if we're looking at, and we're gonna switch over to the opposite side of the middle school cafeteria. Located here is the student seminar space. This particular space is designed for 89 students. It has really the panels you see here are the perforated acoustic standardized panel system for the acoustics, for the ceiling, and very clean lined design. LED strip lighting here, and one of the things that we discussed with the working group was the fact that this lighting is a question that Jay brought up from a very functional functional perspective. Is this lighting is LED, but it's also located just behind in the walking section of the aisles, so it's easily accessible. If they do need to get changed, they are extremely efficient, they are long lasting, but a light is a light, and sometimes they definitely need to be changed. This particular space has carpet in the aisles, really nice volume, access from the library at the second level. You can see right here from the library, and also accessed from the first level right here off of this corridor. And it'll have a local sound system, storage you can see to the left, interactive whiteboard or interactive projector. It has Wi-Fi power and data at the each station. The aisles, some of you may have seen some of the other schools that we've done and that others have done. And one of the concerns in the working group we discussed as part of the working group process is identifying and making sure that the aisle width is larger, so that if there's a student sitting in a particular location, that a student behind can walk and pass by without having to scoot along. So we've widened the back of the access aisle. We've also increased, in order to get access to the second level and the first level, each of these lifts have been increased vertically as well, and that provides some really nice sight lines down to the presentation area. In here, just the materials as well, with a carpet, painted concrete beneath all of these stations, and then drywall on the walls and the perimeter. Any questions so far? Okay. So we're going to shift gears a little bit, and we're going to go. We're going to walk along. Take a walk along this corridor right here. So the connecting corridor we mentioned is on the first floor, and you may recall all of this being a space that has visual connection to the courtyard, but also to the fields and the lobby as well. And the connecting corridor, so there's a lot of natural daylighting. There's a lot of really nice light. And this particular image shows the aesthetic, the volume, the transparency, and then coming down to the end of the corridor, the fitness center as the focal point at the end of the corridor. And so this is also something to be used. We've got bathrooms here, so when there's an event going on, whether it's in the auditorium or the gymnasium, this will likely be a spill-out area where we'll have seating on the side of the corridor, as well as access to the toilet room facilities in the next bay, and then seating as well. So as you walk down the corridor, there's a series of spaces directly associated with the nice transparency to the courtyard and the fields on the right-hand side. As I mentioned before, the same use of the veneer panel with a standard suspended ceiling that you see here, and pendant light fixtures on the side in each of the alternating bays. And you can see going down the floor, down the corridor, the floor material is consistent. So it's the sheet linoleum flooring, the low maintenance, very good from a design perspective, good use of material, and that is consistent with the lobby moving down this corridor, the high school cafeteria, the middle school cafeteria, and down through these corridors and the nodes. So the intent with those main public areas is to use that linoleum flooring. As you enter at the end of the corridor here, as you enter the lobby, it's a 2-story space along with the fitness center, and you can see the transparency and the really trying to highlight that the 2-story connection between the lobby, the fitness center, and then also looking through into the gymnasium within this space. Use of very similar materials with softening, with 2x2 ceiling tiles, gypsum wallboard, use of the wood with the consistency of the aesthetic. And then one of the things that that we talked about during the working group is not necessarily in this location, but in the location at the gymnasium, is to provide at the lower sections of the glazing is to provide some form of a solid panel within the glazing at the end of the gymnasium, located here and here. A minor point overall, but just a discussion topic that we had. And the idea was that although the glazing is tempered glass and is something that is used regularly within this type of a space, having it really low on the ground or the floor level, we would provide a solid panel, just something that we discussed. Entrance to the auditorium located here, and then moving to the gymnasium. Pull that over to the front. So the gymnasium space, this vantage point is looking from the entrance. So as you would step in the doors from the lobby, you would see the high school gymnasium, the middle school gymnasium beyond, that is divided by an operable acoustic partition. Then that is each space is further subdividable by a curtain, a vinyl curtain. The high school in half, and then this half further subdivided, so you have 3 teaching stations, and then the middle school with a mid-court curtain divided into two teaching stations. The bleachers on either side of the gymnasium. We're showing some banners, potentially the relocation of existing banners or some new banners. Usually what happens is the district decides we've got a new building, let's as part of the project create and get some new banners to display within the rafters. We're just showing that as a possibility, using some graphics to really personalize the athletic space. And we've talked in the working group about providing power and data for TV and broadcasting at the upper section of the bleachers, as well as the timing station, and scorer's table in the center and the front of the bleachers here. This is just diagrammatically showing the bleachers, something that we would go through and identify the aisles and the accessibility locations within the bleacher system. They're retractable, expandable bleachers, and then at the high school section connected to the walls, and then the sections at the middle school are movable and expandable, retractable, so that there would be 3 sections that could be moved manually to the end line, the baseline of the high school court, and additional spectators could be seen at that end. The total capacity of the bleachers, the high school section about 640. The this section here about 160. So there's about 800 total seats capacity within the gymnasium. We talked about providing power and data and also sound locations on either side, this side and this side of the gymnasium, for assembly, local sound, within this space. There's really nice natural daylighting as well within the space from the north and the northwest side of the gymnasium. Let's see. The last space is the library on the second level. Let's see if so library looking from the second level into the library, so you can see from the middle school cafeteria up through to the library, and then if you recall, you can also see that space from the high school cafeteria, and you can see the graphic beyond the glass. That's this graphic right here. So we're looking inside the space from a teaching area on the second floor. If you see the middle school entry here, high school entry here, the this right here is the line in which this particular transition from a single story to a two-story occurs, and the graphic along that along this zone here. This particular image is looking from this corner across the space at that that wall. Below this line is the glass enclosed secured teaching area, and that was you know, one of the requirements was to have transparency, but also have some acoustic separation within this particular teaching area, and that was achieved with its location and use of materials within the space. You can see the stacks, book stacks here, behind the research station. This is the window wall going into or looking into the high school cafeteria. The upper level, if you recall, the library is 2 stories, but it's on the second floor, so that pops up. This section right here pops up above the second floor roof, which allows natural daylighting into the library space. It's a really nice way to get that transparency from the second floor, and also allow direct natural lighting. So you'll be able to see across the space, get natural lighting from up above, but also get some borrowed lighting from the middle school side and the high school side, and then also views out on either side to the exterior, because you're looking across the space on the high school side, across the space through to the courtyard, and then across the space on the middle school side out to the entrance. You can see it's a very simple but very nicely proportioned space. Use of paint to transition of materials with drywall, 2x2 ceilings, soffits with some cove lighting for accent, and then the research station here set up by some soffitting and some perforated metal grills that will also be used for HVAC and delivery of air. The entrance to the middle school side, entrance to the high school side with soft seating located here, and soft seating on the opposite side located here. Carpet throughout, and I think that's it. That's a lot of info to take in.
Can we just make a point that for anyone who's watching this video, that these might not be the final designs, or they're certainly very close to it, but they continue to be tweaked.
Yeah.
And we'll try to get copies of these up on the website in the very near future.
Yep. That's a really good point, Sean, because one thing that I wanted to mention that I forgot in the initial discussion was one thing that the administration and the working group asked us to look at a little bit closer. Two things actually. One was with this pull this up just so you can see. This is the, on the middle school side, the egress point, or the point in which if somebody comes in the building, they've been buzzed in by the administration through the vestibule into the waiting area of the administration, and they've been allowed to go into the building further. This would be the door that they would exit from the office and into this section of the two-story cafeteria space to get to the remainder of the building. One of the things that the work group administration asked us to do is take a look at possibly creating something a little bit more solid in screening in this area, basically to the point of the door, and then it transitions to a more of a solid void, transparent type of a wall. And when I say a wall, the working group liked very much the volume of the space and the overall configuration of the space, but just providing something so that when somebody walks out the door here, they have a visual screen from the main middle school cafeteria. And one thing we talked about is that is a location where we could put additional history of Abington display, or something that really speaks to the view, the initial view that somebody gets coming into the building as the history of Abington. The screen would probably be 6, 7 feet, 8 feet in height, so it wouldn't be full height, because the volume is something that was desired and to maintain. The second thing was this visual screen here between the kitchen area, the serving area, and the middle school dining is both functional, educational, and aesthetic. And the functional component is that it conceals and houses all of the recycling and the trash neatly. And the educational component is that we were discussing this as being something that displays student work, that displays a component of the history of Abington through, in this particular image, we were thinking about an etched glass screen here with metal panels that could be interchangeable and customizable by the students, and but that hasn't been completely resolved. But just a few items that we'll be looking at in greater detail over the next month to 2 months.
You mentioned the screening on the entrances. Would that be, both entrances?
Yeah, on the middle school and high school side. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so that would be located here and also on this side. So when somebody's egressing the high school side, they would have a visual screen as well. Yep.
One of the things the working group took a great deal of time in discussing is having something that is inviting, and something that obviously is attractive and is worthy of the investment the taxpayers are making into this, but also being very responsible with the taxpayers' money, and ensuring that we're not taking away from any other components of the building. And really what the thought is you know, those main spaces such as, you know, your cafeteria, and, you know, the gymnasium area, the area that are more public accessible, you know, to dress them up a little bit, you know, as economically as possible. And then the other areas such as, you know, a hallway that'll be used by a student to get to, you know, between classrooms, you know, not to spend money in dressing those up. You know, and we had I like to draw parallels, and in the working group meeting, one of the questions I asked is, you know, help me understand how this compares to a Whitman-Hanson or an East Bridgewater, you know, from a, you know, kind of an entryway and, you know, the money that is being spent. And, you know, this, because it's shared space, when you walk into either Whitman-Hanson or East Bridgewater, you walk into a grand entryway, or a foyer, if you will, that really, that's the only purpose that serves is it's a big kind of dressed up foyer or entryway. Because we're using the cafeteria to really serve as that entryway or that foyer, we're able to do it much more economically than, you know, than an East Bridgewater or a Whitman-Hanson did, because we're using one space to serve multiple purposes. It's not just this grand foyer, you know, like a Whitman-Hanson or an East Bridgewater has. It's the cafeteria, you know, and that serves as, you know, that entrance once you get into, you know, the main building. So, you know, we spent a great deal of time in talking about that. You know, we talked about, you know, the ceiling and obviously the acoustical wave panels, and, you know, could we, you know, do it more economically if we just did a standard, you know, 2x2 drop ceiling, you know, and it may not have the physical appeal, you know, but, you know, could we save some money there? And it's really cost neutral because, you know, they're able to accomplish, you know, the soundproofing and by using these, but, you know, they don't need to install an entire, you know, drop ceiling with 2x2 panels. So, you know, they've really spent a great deal of time at, you know, trying to maximize our investment and make it, you know, look worthy of the $96 million that the taxpayers are spending, while, you know, not trying to, you know, spend dollars in areas that, you know, that we don't need to, or that won't necessarily, you know, benefit the students long term, you know, because at the end of the day, I mean, we are building a school, and you know, the education is, you know, priority number one, you know, but we do want to give the town, you know, something that they can be proud of, and to that point, something that the students can be proud of. You know, I think Kathy said it best in one of our working group meetings. You know, if the students take pride in the space, you know, they're going to treat it accordingly, you know, and, you know, we want the students to have a tremendous sense of pride and come to school on a daily basis and enjoy being there. So, you know, there's a lot of time spent on that, you know, and I think, you know, you know, AI3 did a great job in kind of capturing, you know, what we were trying to accomplish.
Yeah, we did spend some time, and we're still talking about those, that entrance into that space, to your point, because similarly, you know, walking into somebody's kitchen, we're trying to serve, or kitchen eating space, we're trying to serve both purposes with one space, and so that people don't walk into, you know, fish bones and sardine cans in the middle of the lunch wave. We're trying to create that visually appealing barrier, visually appealing visual barrier.
Can I add to that? One of the things we talked about in the work group was that this space is your entranceway, but it's not always gonna be a cafeteria. We envision that this is a community building, and that this area will likely be used in the evening for other types of events, whether it be fundraisers. Much like the high school cafeteria is used in the evenings for other meetings and groups that might use it. What we didn't want to have was the Frollo cafeteria, which is in the dungeon of a basement. You know, we wanted it to be a room that could be used multiple. So I think AI3 did a great job laying it out so it could be used for multiple uses. It has movable tables, it's got low maintenance walls, low maintenance floors, but yet it's very attractive. And, you know, you can make it the student dining area, or you can make it a reception area for adults in the evening. So we're trying to get as much use out of every space in the building for the same dollar, and I like what you did.
One thing that we're seeing a lot too on that point is the cafeteria. Many times, or in the past, the cafeteria has been placed at the side of a building or in a location it's kind of becomes an island. It's used 3 times a day. It doesn't, when it's not lunch, it's vacant. But its location, centralized location, and its separation into high school, middle school, allows it to be used throughout the entire day, not just for lunches, but if instructors want to take 2 classes out, or a class, and have a larger space to work on projects or work on a particular exercise, then they can do that and have that larger space, and it's very easily accessible, convenient, conveniently located within the building. And that's happening a lot in the current school designs, to make sure that all spaces are becoming utilized more within the building.
I don't know if you can do it with the rendering, but could you point out at the entry points to the school how the middle school and high school traffic is separated?
Yeah, that's a good
There was one view, I think,
question,
that
Mike.
showed the 2 entrances.
Well, if we're talking about students arriving in the morning, the entrance of high school students would primarily occur at the lobby space here. So this particular rendering, so through these doors and then down this corridor to their wing on this side. The middle school students would enter in this side, being dropped off along the side of the building here, and then travel down this corridor to the middle school side. And the rendering, I think that you're thinking about, this is the middle school side, so they come across this corridor and then either upstairs or into that corridor there, or this is the corridor here, and then to the left on that rendering. Is that the rendering you think, Mike? This one.
Maybe that one.
Yeah, so this one, you can see the middle school corridor on this side with the beginning of the stairs to go up to the 2nd floor, or to the access corridor on the 1st floor, and the high school cafeteria here, student dining. So the students would come along that student dining and then peel off on the 1st floor, peel off to the high school section. So in the morning they wouldn't commingle. In fact, if you remember, the plan specifically delineated so that we had middle school entry, high school entry, and the high school students traveling along this corridor to their respective wing, and then the middle school students traveling in this corridor to their respective wing. They're coming in after entry time. They would come in on either the high school side here to the administration, middle school side here to the administration, and then peel off into the quarters there.
Remember, though, more importantly, the high school kids 9 through 12 are gonna be on one set of bus routes, and then the 5 through 8 kids are gonna be a separate set of bus routes. So the school days are gonna start at least a half an hour, 40 minutes apart from each other. So never will we really see the high school kids and the middle school kids, certainly not the buses, arriving at the same time. So we'll get, I don't know who will come in first, the high school come in first? High school will arrive first, and they'll go in their corner and go in their wing, and they'll start school. And then the middle school parents and buses will come and they'll go in their corridor and start school. And then the reverse will happen at the end of the day. So not only is there physical separation with the building and the hallways, but then there's also the time separation.
Could you go to the view of the seminar room?
Yes.
Is that rendering, is it accurate? Is it gonna have that kind of drop to it?
From the second level to this? Is
Yeah.
it? Yep, yep.
I was just noticing the carpeted stairs. You know, I know that's probably better acoustically, but I see it as a lot of maintenance. I don't know, if tile on the stairs would make better sense, you know? Just a thought I had, just looking at it.
Sure. Yeah, we can look at some other materials. We generally stay away from tile just because of the slip factor. In the tile, as opposed to carpet, has a little bit more of a or less slip resistance.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we could definitely look at
Also, I
variety
would
too.
just note, I mean, you could look at rubber tile, but that could, or rubber system.
Yeah.
But that would start to take away from the aesthetic. I find that when we go into these spaces, Michael, there's so much concrete in the actual seating areas that's painted. It's almost like you wanna use the carpet to bring like a richness back into the space. I'd be a little bit concerned that between the painted concrete, which each level of seating, that if you put in some type of rubber system, you could do, cause that way you could get the risers covered too. If you did tile, you would only be doing the threshold, the treads, and you wouldn't be doing the risers. I think you really do wanna get something in there to try to, in that open kind of
Right.
aisle space, take away from just the painted concrete look that you're gonna see maybe on the risers for the rest of the space.
Yeah. But that it definitely is a good point with the overall maintenance, just traffic. Yep.
And then, you mentioned about the tempered glass in the gym and use of glass in the teaching room in the library, and other areas around the building, although it's a good idea for visibility. What kind of glass is it? Is it actual glass or is it a plastic like Lexan? Or what kind of material is it?
It is in the locations that you mentioned. It is glass, and in locations that are lower or in an area that would require tempered glass, then we would use a tempered glass, so it would have that additional durability with the tempered glass. In some cases, we may even use laminated glass in certain situations. Which, for those of you not familiar with laminated glass, it's essentially two thin pieces of glass with a very thin sheet of plastic in between. Provides more durability, more rigidity. Tempered glass is glass where the outsides of the material is cooled very quickly, creating a much more durable, higher strength surface on either side of the glass.
Troy, again on the seminar room, the stairs with the carpeting on it. Is there another set of stairs on the other side, or is that the only egress?
This is the egress point and the access corridor. We did talk about that during the program meetings and during the working group meetings, and if another access aisle was provided, then we lose about 14 to 16
Spaces,
seats.
yeah.
And because we increased the width of the aisle, it wasn't really necessary. It's not necessary from an egress standpoint, but from a functional standpoint, it was decided not to eliminate that many seats, provide one access point, and then provide a wider aisle between the seating.
Unfortunately, speaking of questions come to mind now because of all the tours that we've done. There looks to be a decent amount of presentation space, if that's roughly to scale. Because when you bring in somebody who's doing a demonstration or something, you need that extra space. That's roughly to scale in terms of presentation space for the
Yeah,
presenter.
yeah, this is to
Yeah.
scale, yep.
Obviously, if you sacrifice that, then you lose seating also. You don't have so much space in that room, but that's a nice amount of space right there.
Yeah, and that's another good point, Peter, is that that you bring up, is some of the other schools, I believe that you had toured as well, had in the project seminar space, had a presentation area that was pretty compressed, and we've expanded this front section to allow for a greater area for presentation.
Yeah, that was one of the benefits of the tours. That was one of the things that we learned from the mistakes of others, or the regrets, I should say, of other schools, that they wish they had left more space like we are designing in. Troy, can you just go back, just for the benefit of everyone, about the ceiling of the entranceway? We talked a lot about it during the during the work meeting. Can you just kind of explain again the purpose of how the ceiling looks different than a regular ceiling, that it's not just artwork up there, that everything is, has a purpose, but it's also not an expensive ceiling at all?
Yeah, the ceiling that Sean's referring to is in the middle school and the high school cafeteria. And we had a discussion about the design of these curved panels and what their purpose was, what the possibility of just putting ACT ceiling there. ACT is acoustical ceiling tiles, a 2x2 grid, similar to what you see here. And these clouds, we'll call them, these are an acoustic material, so they have value similar to an acoustic ceiling tile to reduce the noise levels within the space. And so all of these systems are a standard panel by a manufacturer that are hung by cables, and similar to how ACT ceiling is hung. And same with these wood veneer acoustic panels. They are standard shapes that are by the manufacturer that have acoustic value. They're acoustic. They're an MDF medium density fiberboard that has a veneer of wood on them. So it's an inexpensive, economical way to provide both acoustics as well as the appearance of the wood and a warmer visual. So all of these panels have acoustic value that you see in the ceiling, and they're also we've got LED lighting that is part of that standard series that can be integrated into the wood panel.
And which will dim when there's sunlight coming in.
Yeah, there's daylight dimming within the building. It won't be in every single space because of the definition of daylight dimming. But when the daylighting is high levels, then the interior lights, there's a sensor in the ceiling, so that when the sensor recognizes the natural higher level of natural daylighting, the ballast within the light dims, which in effect reduces operating costs, and the overall it contributes to the efficiency of the overall building.
If going back to the clouds again, do they impact the fire suppression systems at all, with sprinklers or anything like that?
They won't. We have to design the fire suppression system to coordinate with their locations.
Mm-hmm.
But we would have to do that. We'd have to do that with any particular space, and that would not affect the distribution of the fire suppression system.
Right.
Those clouds are made by multiple manufacturers too, so that it's not like it's just one manufacturer, so they'll be competitively bid, so it should be, you know, it's a commodity type product.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, we made the comment, we didn't wanna even get the impression that those were on loan from the Museum of Fine Arts, those are standard things.
Standard catalog.
Yeah, it just makes the space look better for not, and without spending a lot of money, it just looks nicer.
Any other questions or comments for Troy?
Thank you very much.
Nice presentation, thanks.
Thank you. Thanks. All right, next order of business on the agenda, and I think it'll be a very brief discussion. Consideration regarding radiant heated entry sidewalks, and we're not yet at a point where we need to make a final determination as to the order of our ad alternates, and the ad alternates, just to remind everyone, are components of the project that would not necessarily be fully reimbursable by the MSBA, so we need to have them carved out from the standard project. And the ad alternates as they presently exist are the turf fields, the snack shack, and lighting improvements along Glenowitz Way. In addition to that, we have talked about the potential addition of radiant heated entryways, much like we have at the library and what other town building, and town hall. And this was an education for me, what it is important to note is the order in which we put the ad alternates ultimately, when we do go out to bid, is the order in which we need to accept the ad alternates. And what it's important to understand is if, and I'm gonna use very round and non-committal numbers, if it was $50,000 for the radiant sidewalks and it was $300,000 for the lighting improvements along Glenowitz Way, if we have $250,000 left and the lighting improvements were put ahead of the radiant sidewalks, and we don't have sufficient funds to take the lighting improvements, then we also cannot take the radiant sidewalks as an alternate, because we have to take them in the order in which they're listed. If, in the reverse, if the radiant sidewalks were in front of the lighting improvements on Glenowitz Way, and there was $250,000 left, and the sidewalks were $50,000, then we would be able to take the sidewalks and obviously forego the lighting improvements. So we're not at the point now where we need to make a determination. We have two additional cost balances.
Yeah, we have two more cost estimates that we need to perform, and as you've all seen over the last 2 weeks, as part of the design development cost estimate, we did have to go through a pretty thorough value engineering practice. And it would be my recommendation, and I've made the recommendation to the chairman, that we wait till we get further along in the construction design of the project, so that we can continue to evaluate the estimates, the value engineering components that we are considering and adopting for the project, and then weigh all of those value engineering and other considerations with the synthetic field and the lights and the Glenowitz Way lighting and the radiant sidewalks, to really have, at the time of bid, a full agreement by the entire committee on what you think is important to list as alternates, understanding that we have to take the alternates in the order that they are listed. And the principle that we've all been talking about with regard to this is a hope that we will have an excellent bid environment, and we are hopeful we will, and that we may be able to have some savings at the time of bid that we could reuse for these additional components and bring back into the project. And also, by doing so, if we can use the bid savings for an alternate, it will also help us with our MSBA grant, rather than doing it through a change order, because we've talked about MSBA's new change order policy. So, it's our recommendation that we would wait until we get closer to 90% construction documents. We have that estimates. We know fully where we've been with value engineering and with all of the considerations, and then have an agreement from the committee on your final list.
Peter?
To that end, in terms of the value engineering, there were items that we talked long and hard about, some technology items that we want the committee to consider perhaps as those as alternates where those might be. Network or switches or a two-way radio system or things like that. They're, you know, again, using round numbers, we're talking items of you know, $200,000, $150,000 in value, so.
Absolutely.
Can I ask, related to the street lighting part of it, if the street lighting is an add alternate, and the street lighting issue would be replacing the light towers on Glenwood's Way with newer ornamental lanterns and all, which would be a nice look, but if that were not to come to fruition, our new building, the current Abington High School, the lights, I understand, run off of the high school. They come out of the high school's electrical system, because if you go back in time, when those lights were put in 1964 with the building, there was no town hall and library, and this was just the high school driveway. Now it's more of it is a public road now, and it goes to the town hall and library, but those lights are still connected to Abington High School. So when the new school gets built, what happens, are the streetlights still connected to the new school? Are they gonna be disconnected and have a separate meter? How does that?
We haven't gotten there yet.
We haven't got there, okay.
That-
Could have
that-
stopped me at the
It's
beginning.
actually, that topic is something that Jason just recently brought up, that he would like to have a meeting with the electrical engineer to talk about all of
Yeah,
that.
okay.
Because there does seem to be a coordination issue, is that if we don't do the alternate, we have to figure out how we're gonna repower those lights. And are those lights even in the physical state that
Right.
we can rely on being able to reconnect them? So we're gonna follow up on that in the near future.
Thank you.
From my experience, a lot of the street lighting systems, the wires can't be spliced. They have to be rerun if they're cut. So that might mean rewiring all the existing lights to be able to work with the new school. So there may be quite a bit of work to repower them.
Good to know. All right, any further discussion on add alternates or radiant heated? I'd like to ask Mary to provide a quick budget update.
So included in your agenda package is an updated budget. We continue to track to budget. It does include the invoices that have been submitted to date, so that's billing through February of this year. Additionally, today, we did work on an item as part of our planning, zoning, and conservation commission permitting, an application to those boards. We will need to have a peer review performed by a engineering consultant hired by the town. We were able to talk through the proposal by the company of Beals and Thomas, and our office has recommended to Richard and to the school department that we issue a purchase order to be billed against the project to Beals and Thomas for $14,400 to perform that peer review for planning, zoning, and conservation. It's a very typical thing that we need to do through the town, so that they're reviewing the wetland delineations, any wetland replication, site boundaries, wetland flagging, storm drainage calculations, just to ensure, and all the bylaw requirements to ensure that we're complying. And they will also make recommendations on the variances that we are requesting. So that is not shown on the budget yet, because it just came through today with the final proposal, and we'll update that for next month. But that was also included in the original budget, so we will be taking that off of some of the additional services for consulting.
Thank you, Mary. And again, I went slightly out of order, but again, we,
Can I just add something on that?
Yes.
Sorry, we're also in touch with MSBA in terms of reimbursement for what we've submitted for January. We've been reimbursed at the appropriate percentage as well.
fantastic. Very good information. And again, just welcoming our new Finance Committee Chair Representative, Peter Walter. I took that out of order, but I felt that recognizing him took precedent over all other business.
Whoa.
Do we have any additional business or items not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance?
Just a question, has DD been accepted by MSBA and?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yes, they performed a review and we received comments back on February vacation week, one of those days. And then we responded back. The comments were very nominal. It asked us to expand our project schedule. It asked or gave some recommendations to the architect to consider in their next submission to make sure they have the documentation. Requesting life cycle costs for the project, which will be submitted with the CD set. A couple of updates from our office just with regard to documentation and certifications for the submittal. So it was pretty much not a lot of issues or concerns, and we turned it around in one day, and we're authorized to go forward with CD. The only thing that we are still waiting on is, as part of that submission, we did submit an amendment to our Department of Elementary and Secondary Education submission that talks about our SPED spaces in the building. Basically, we just changed the location of and I think the size of SPED resource room.
Just location.
Yeah, location, and that was to get additional daylighting in that space. So MSBA also thought it was a pretty nominal change, but because they've run into issues before with people making changes to the SPED component, they will get formal approval from DESE. So we must make sure we have that formal approval before we get the project, and I would suspect with the 6 months or so we have, we shouldn't have a problem with achieving that approval.
Mary, you mentioned they asked you to expand on the construction schedule, but that's not to say they weren't asking us to extend our construction schedule.
Greater detail.
Yeah. Could you just kind of regurgitate what we should anticipate in the next couple of months as far as our schedule of bidding and awarding and?
Yes. So 60% construction documents will go to the cost estimators and to our office for our review on April 24th. That's a Friday. We will then turn those documents around and do our reconciliation on the estimates and expect to make submission to MSBA on May 18th. MSBA then has 2 to 3 weeks of review time and turn around to our office, and those reviews are expected by June 1st. 90% documents are going to KVA and the cost estimators on July 1st. Submission to MSBA on July 24th. MSBA comments expected back by August 14th. And then 100% construction documents on August 31st. And then we would go out to bid soon thereafter. We are also going to perform contractor pre-qualification, which is required of the general contractor and all the file subbid categories for any project over $10 million, which is this project. We'll probably be starting that in April and finishing it in May. And there's no timeline on how soon that has to be done prior to bid, but you do like to have it in some proximity, but you do also like to give yourself some time in case you have any kind of issues with the submissions on the pre-quals. So in April, I'll probably be coming to the committee and asking for a pre-qual subcommittee to help us with those review and evaluations so that we can do the pre-qual.
So we're still on schedule, hopefully awarding a contract in November-ish, get started December-ish. That's great news.
Very good. Okay, if there's no additional.
Define.
So we have two upcoming scheduled working group meetings. We have a working group meeting this Friday, March 13th at 7:30 a.m. at the North School Administration offices. We also have the following Friday, March 20th, we have a working group meeting scheduled also at 7:30 a.m. at the North School. What would be a reasonable time frame, Mary, to schedule our next general meeting?
Well, I guess I would look somewhat to Troy also for input on this. We are going to be going to the Planning Zoning Board on the 14th of April. So I don't know whether you wanna meet prior to that, or would like to meet just after that.
To probably just after that would be appropriate.
So do you wanna meet, the following week is school vacation week, so do you wanna meet like, Wednesday, April 15th, or Thursday, April 16th?
Yeah, both of
Does
those.
any day work better for people in the room, or it doesn't work good?
16th better than 15th?
Thursday would be better.
Thursday.
That's just me.
Thursday. Okay, that's great. So, Thursday, April 16th, 6 p.m.
Thursday, April 16th, 6 p.m. And we will confirm the availability of this room at the police station. So tentatively, the meeting will be planned to be held here. And should that change, we'll make sure that we communicate it to the committee. All right, is there any other business to come before the committee? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Bill.
Yes.
Have they come over? I assume they're coming in, it's kind of late, so is it gonna be a flat roof? Website.
When you say flat roof, it won't be like a typical house roof.
No, I don't.
But it will be pitched,
Okay.
pitched toward the ground.